Hello, Connective. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you don't know how I work, I pull a bunch of cards from different decks to tell a story. We talk about it. If you like the content, feel free to subscribe. Don't smash anything. And with that being said, let's get into this energy. So this is a general reading for Libra. So let's see what's going on for Libra here. These are mostly shuffled, but they're acting up. So let's see if we can get them to act right before we go for jumpers. Got the energy oracle here. All right, it's a little better. Let's see if we can get some, I don't know what that is. Oh, looks like happy family. Is it? Yes. Yes. Okay. Wow, that just came out in the last reading, that card, action. Let's see what else we have going on here. Wow, okay. Every time I run through the signs, the energy is very similar. I saw that card too. Okay. All right, anything else? I kind of would like to do one more. I'd like to get a few more energy cards on this one. Thank you. Anything else for this one? Nothing? See what we got. Okay. So we got happy family and the sun. We're always working towards the sun. We have envy. Oh no! Put them over there. We've got the man holding a coin. And we have action. That came out for Gemini. And oh, so did the thinking woman. Okay. Let's just put, yeah, actually we like it over there. We're just gonna put envy over there. I'm gonna see if Alice in Wonderland, wants to help us figure out what's going on here in Libra's reading here. Man holding a coin and thinking woman. We didn't have anybody holding anything in Gemini's reading. We did have a lot of angels. The sun, happy family. Wow, I hope this isn't similar to Gemini. See if the energy is the same here. Oh, it looks like it is. Let's just see. Let's see. Wow, different cards, same message, except for the cards that are the same. Okay, Libra, what's happening? What's happening? So we have. Oh, okay. All right. So one of my favorite cards. Do not drink poison. I think it says do not do things you know are bad for you. Do not do things you know are bad for you. And we have investigate, look closely, ask questions, think before acting. It's funny because you have think before acting and then you have action on the table. So I guess we'll put that up there. And shine bright like a candle. You will make it through this. We have the sun on the table. What do we need to make it through? What do we need to make it through? Let's just... I mean, we have envy on the table. A lot of times that's somebody kind of either, well, I mean, your own envy could get in the way. If you're looking at something that somebody else has and it's causing problems, any kind of problems, it doesn't matter. Yeah, of course. But, envy usually is kind of like from the outside, somebody looking at something that you have. But I don't know. Do not drink poison. Oh, that might be be your own envy here. I don't see anything else that's like, it's just kind of telling you. I mean, I guess I don't see poison on the table, but obviously the temptation is there. Otherwise, it wouldn't be telling us not to drink poison. Doing things that we know are bad for us. Most of the time when that comes up, that's like an internal thing we have going, like negative self-talk or, you know, making decisions that don't really help us out. Put us in a situation that like causes us stress to where we're always dealing with something, you know. So it's there. We have to deal with the consequences of it, but we don't necessarily know that we're doing it, kind of thing. Most of the time it's just a behavior or like a boundary that we won't set. So then we keep seeing like the cycle of it. So we react to the cycle of it, but we don't see the thing where we did it, or we allowed it at least. So the first one that came out was last quarter moon in Libra, make time for self-love. See, this is what we're talking about. All right, what else we got? Last quarter moon in Taurus, be proud of yourself. Yeah. And last quarter moon in Gemini, clear your mind. Gemini got this too. Yeah, this seems like someone is engaging in just a little bit of like self-defeating behavior. It could be like a belief that keeps them from moving forward, kind of thing. It could be the negative self-talk or allowing themselves to get drawn into like negative, like lower vibe emotions, you know, jealousy, envy, anger, sadness. It doesn't have to be envy. It could be anything on the lower downward spiral spectrum of, you know, poison that they don't necessarily have to be engaging in. Most of the time we do choose, even if it's a habit, to kind of go there. This is telling you to look into it, to see where that's coming from. Where does that come from? Is that a cycle that someone else started? Is it something that you're doing? Because, you know, it's kind of telling you, you know, make time for self-love is on the table. This is kind of telling me, you know, that you need to acknowledge like how, well, I was going to say perfect you are. This says you will make it through this, like kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel. But I feel like you are the light at the end of the tunnel, and like that's why you need to be proud of yourself, honestly, because you know it's a good possibility that wherever you were in the situation, like when you were growing up or when you like learned this like poisonous behavior or poisonous thought process, you know, that you weren't, you know, what you were shown is what you had to work with, and that you are much more than that right now, even with nothing, like even with like not even trying to get out of it, you're already more than what you experienced, kind of thing. So be proud of yourself. You know, you've already taken action to get out of, you know, that drinking poison mentality, but there's still, you know, how many is that? No way. We're not taking 3 blind spots. We're going to take the one on the bottom. Maybe 2, but no. Oh, I don't know that we've gotten this one before. Number 3. Let's see here. Number 3 is, their motives. Not seeing the true motives of the other person or perhaps other people involved in the situation. So it's so this sounds like the poison that you're drinking is coming from other people. That's your blind spot. And it's a good possibility that people are telling you stuff. It's a possibility that they're motivated by the lower vibrations, and that they're telling you stuff that isn't necessarily like true, trying to mislead you, either in a situation or just in your life, just trying to get you to go in a place that that's dark. Not dark meaning, you know, like a bad place, although it could be. But I just mean more of like a place where you can't see your worth, you know, and a place where you're supposed to be less than, so that they can keep perpetuating this on you, so that you can't get towards this, right? It's telling you to investigate and to clear your mind. If you do make time for self-love, then you can see when other people aren't giving you love, even if it's on a small scale. You know, sometimes it's confusing to see what their motives, like you have to recognize what their motives actually have to be to treat you in a certain way. But if you don't see like how you should be treated, then you don't know what the difference is. This says to not do things that you know are bad for you. But if you don't know it's bad for you, how do you stop it? Not rolling around in your head, you know, right? You have to understand. You have to think and clear your mind. Don't get garbled up in their, you know, their motives, their efforts. It's a lot of like running around to try to like get you to not see what's happening. Partly because you need to look at yourself in a different way, but partly because you need to look at them in a different way. Right, Libra? I know how you guys are. You always want things to be balanced. You want families to come together. You want relationships to be mended. That other person, they're coming from a different place than you are. They don't wish the best for you, and they're trying to get you to drink the Kool-Aid so that you can stay with them in the dark. There's I mean, the sun is on the table, which is like, you know, the world's happiest card, the happiest card. Happy family actually has the word happy in it, and family. So if you wanted happy family, that card wouldn't be important, right? I don't see any hearts on the table. I see coins on the table, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that someone is, you know, shallow or that's more important. You know, I always say that this could be a man holding anything. Someone could have something of yours that you can't get away from right now, right? Or maybe you just haven't really decided, you haven't figured out what their motives are. That's one of the reasons why you have to clear your mind. Sometimes we go on these premises that we have about the relationship or the person. Like, say if we assume that the person's a good person. In the beginning, we assume that this person's a good person, right? So then when things start to like not really add up, when they kind of look a little weird, and we still have the premise that, you know, the person's a good person, but they're not, it is very hard to see what is going on. If you happen to treat yourself in a different way where you start to see how they're treating you, and you go, wait a minute, be proud of yourself, because you weren't supposed to necessarily see that. Got lower vibrations clouding the issue. You got people's intentions, their motives clouding the issue. I mean, this reading is it's just telling you to know your self-worth, to be the light, I know sometimes it's hard, but you know what? If you're the light for yourself, it helps. In the situation, if you have to go through this situation anyway, you might as well be the light for yourself. You might as well tell yourself things that you know to be true as things are happening. You know, I wanted to say as things are ending, but again, like I don't necessarily see an ending on the table. It's just cautioning you to have some self-worth, like right here. Right here. And this is telling me to not listen to other people. Definitely. Because their motives are off. Sometimes you even know what they already want. Like, well, it's kind of like if you wanted to buy a house and your sister was like, don't buy that house. That house is, you know, bad. And then your sister goes and buys that house. Like, you kind of know. You go, oh, she just wanted the house. I get it. The house isn't bad. Then you have to go back and look at what else you were told, you know, either about the house or by your sister, right? And then you have to go back and figure out, like, well, was I drinking the Kool-Aid the entire time? This person, like, telling me what's right, or were they just telling me what they needed to tell me to get what they want, right? Again, when you don't just do circles with it in your head, when you actually like look at it, when you see that person for who they are, what they're taking, what they're giving, who they have to be to treat you a certain way, who they have to be to tell you certain things or not tell you, you start treating yourself a little better. You start kind of saying, well, I would have told this person this. Why didn't they tell me? Then you start to see, and you can kind of go, okay, now I was going to say getting smarter. Right? Now I'm getting smarter dealing with people. It doesn't really matter what the situation is. It's obviously important enough that you have to worry about their motives. Right? And their envy, if that's what they have. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see this too, because people don't necessarily tell you. And you may not think that you have anything, you know, more value than what anybody else has, right? But still people are just judging on what you have. It's the best way I can put it. People who have this, by the way, don't do that. They recognize that, oh, this person has a happy family. They might be a good person. This might be someone, you know, that if I hang out with them, I'm not going to be drinking the poison or whatever. I mean, sometimes appearances aren't that, but you know, you can tell when someone's children are happy, when someone's dog is happy, you know, and you know you're like that, and you know your family's like that, and you figure they're probably safe, right? Same with other people. You're like dating, you see their family, you see how their family interacts, you say, oh, my family was like this and they're better, so maybe they're okay, right? Nobody's drinking the Kool-Aid. You don't get a lot of this. You don't have to worry about people's motives because you're dealing with people who have made time for self-love. They don't treat people that way. They don't even keep poison in their house. Right? You know, figure out who those people are. You know. It just reminds me of like a couple people in my life. One of them's a Libra, one of them's not. One of them's a Gemini, but they kind of deal with the same things, both of these people. They get into these, well, first of all, I mean, one of them doesn't so much have like those friends from childhood anymore, so they don't experience this as much, where people kind of come back, toxic people kind of come back, toxic people always want to come back to this other person and like be friends with them all the time. And it's never like they miss that person's friendship. They've done their rounds, they've done their cycle, they're ready to come back and, you know, start again, right? And most people, like I said, who have made time for self-love, they see it coming. They kind of go, oh no, last time I saw this person, they were doing this, and I don't want to do that, so I'm not accepting that this time. That's the only thing that person has brought me. And there might be more than one, right? Again, if you find a way to deflect these people, be proud of yourself. A lot of times people pick up the phone, the next thing you know, they're into another cycle with this person, trying to figure out how to get out of it when they know that they could have figured out how to get out of it before they got in it this time, right? Right? No, this person needs my help. No, they don't. They're playing on whatever it is that you offer. The problem is a lot of times we don't necessarily see what we're offering because we're just looking at ourselves as regular people, but we have all this stuff. We have this light within us. We have already inside of us the desire to not want to do stuff that's bad for us, including emotional stuff, right? Some of us already are investigative. We want to know. Maybe not necessarily in relationships, but we should be. We want to know what's happening. How are we being treated? Especially if our emotions are involved. We may not necessarily see things, especially if we're always being upset by someone, right? Someone's just, they're doing something and it's clouding our mind, right? Can't actually see what's happening. We're being fed at that point poison. We're not actually trying to drink it. And again, if you just looked at yourself and saw how valuable you were, you know, had some pride in yourself, you know, recognize that light within you. There's so much more, but the light is on the table. You know, maybe in the extended, there will be an extended for this. The link will be in the description. There's so much more to you than just this light and just this, you know, desire to be goodness. I was going to say desire for goodness, but it really is about not wanting to drink the poison, not wanting to feed other people poison. Like I said, not even to have poison in our house, right? You already have that plus the light, you know, you already have the ability to have this. The problem is sometimes it takes a little while for us to realize that someone's keeping us from that because of the way they're behaving, right? And like I said, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. The key word here is others, right? The motivation of others. Let's just say for a moment that you are the person with the envy, right? Okay, maybe you don't know that, you know, that's not good for your experience on this planet. You probably do, especially if you do have any inclination or inkling of the light that's inside of you. And if you've even, you know, made a little bit of time for self-love, or you've, you know, were ever proud of yourself and you already know not to be that person that you don't want to be proud of, right? So again, like, I don't think that the Libras that are watching this are the ones with the envy. If the envy's in their situation, I'm pretty sure it's from the motivation of others. It's because of the motivation of others, people feeding us poison, right? If you don't know who it is, if you're in a situation where one person's telling you one thing and the other person's telling you the other thing and you don't know who it is, well, just keep in mind it could be both. We make a lot of suppositions in our heads. If this is true, then that must be true. If this is true, then that must be true. If this person's telling me the story, then this person must not be telling me the story. This person must be telling me the truth. Don't assume that. If you're going to investigate, you might as well investigate. If you don't want to drink poison, you might want to look at everybody that's involved who's feeding you stuff. Not just the person you're suspicious of, right? Again, caring what happens to you draws that out. It draws that intuition out so that you can figure out who that person is. Who is that person? Could be both. Could be other people you don't even think are involved, right? That's pretty much all I can say with the cards on the table. We're going to have to pull more cards in the extended and talk about it. But I do want to leave you with more about this, Libra. So what I will tell you is I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or not. But if you're the person that even knows just a little bit that that there's a part of you that always prevails, right? This light within you. It could be a strength. It could be a getting through things. It could be a light as in, a levity that you carry with you all the time, or just, you're just a levity for other people, which as far as I'm concerned is the same thing. It's the same kind of energy, right? Whether you do this for yourself or you do it for other people. We just always say that if you do it for other people, you have to do it for yourself first, right? You have to be able to do it for yourself first. Otherwise, how could you do it for other people, right? But you have an inclination that, you stand behind the truth, you stand in the light, you know what I'm talking about, right? Just even a little bit. If it's a firm belief, then you definitely know what I'm talking about, right? You realize that, you might drink a little bit too much soda, but for the most part, you're pure, right? Do not purposely do things that make it harder on you. You can. If you're not thinking about it, or if you are thinking about it, you make the wrong decision, you can. But for the most part, that is not your intention. You recognize that, right? You consider yourself to be someone who's open to receiving, information about who you're dealing with or yourself, right? Even if you don't consider yourself to be extremely spiritual, you might consider yourself to pay attention, let's say, right? Things could be a little jumbled, especially if you're being fed stuff. It might not be extremely clear, but the type of person that you are to a point where that certain people can't convince you of other things. You know yourself to a point, right? But maybe you do or don't know that you tend to regard others with more, let's just call it love, than you do yourself. And by love, I just mean more attention, more, maybe even patience. You give them more patience than you give yourself. Any word that you could take, that you could stick in that, you give it more to other people than you give it yourself. You recognize that. You recognize that there's been people that you met in the past that maybe even didn't deserve your love, that you absolutely adored, right? But yourself, you're never there where you adore yourself, right? Just be proud of yourself anyway. If you've been through some stuff in your life, if you've had stuff get taken away, then you are who you are for a reason, right? First of all. It's a good possibility that you were supposed to be a certain way, and it's not on the table here, but you had choices. You could have become something else, but you didn't. You could have become something else, but you didn't. And so you maintained this light, this clarity about yourself, this goodness, this wholesomeness, at least the desire to want to give yourself more, even if you don't recognize it at the time, even if you're just barely figuring it out. Oh, I don't give myself really anything, maybe even time, could be anything. Think about it. Give to yourself before you give to others. When you give from a place of being empty anyway, it kind of it brings other stuff. It brings more people wanting you to give them more stuff, for starters. That's just one thing, unfortunately. But if you're that person that I described all those things, and you're dealing with someone who's not, right? Again, don't blame yourself for not actually seeing that. It's hard, to, when you're not that way, see other people that are being that way unless you've experienced it before. But also, it's harder to see what it is that they might be doing, because you're looking at them, you're coming from a place of, of love and, understanding, and you don't understand why somebody would, treat you a certain way, is all. Sometimes it's mild, and that's why we don't really put our foot down. Because they might just act like they're our friend, and then they kind of come in, but they go and they feel like it, and they come in, they go and they feel like it. And it's like, it might be okay if you have a group of friends that does that. You guys are always talking, you're always talking to somebody, you know, but at that moment when you need someone to be there for you, for something through that you're going through, that you're having a hard time with, and they don't show up because they're off, you know, running their pattern somewhere else, then you start to realize that those people aren't your friends. And then you start to realize that when you do ask someone for their, you know, for their opinion, that it's not even really based on like what you would be considered to be the best for yourself, because the person, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about their own motivations. That's why people sometimes say, like, don't ask other people for advice about this and that and the other thing. It's because a lot of people have people like this around them. That's all. If you didn't, you could ask people. There'd be like good advice from good people. There'd be good advice about money. There'd be good advice about, you know, what books to get at the library, right? Like, it would be how to have a happy family, or just if you just wanted everything, right? You could ask anybody. You'd get an answer. But because there's so much of this, you get a lot of this. So let's pull some more cards. We'll talk a little bit more about this if the healing cards don't have us more focusing on like the actual healing of it. We'll talk a little bit about, you know, once you do get out of this, you know, or even like closing it off, because part of this, if you're ever in a way being treated that you don't want to be treated, then that's boundaries. You know, and sometimes cutting things off, and then cutting things off isn't even the hard part, because you have to like live with yourself when you do that, you know. And that's not always easy either, especially if you're the good person in the situation. If you're the high vibe person, we start to, did we make a mistake? You know, unless we just can go back to, no, that person was poison. We can move on a little easier, by the way. All right. Okay, Libra. So if this is your story, meet us in the extended. If not, remember, do not drink poison. Until we meet again.